Let's get it popping. Let's get it popping.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. I am Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered, Yonkers. How are you doing tonight? Happy Tuesday. No, it's Wednesday. It's Wednesday. Happy Hump Day. Happy Hump Day. Happy Hump Day. Hope all you are doing great. Sorry, I'm coming on late. Tonight, I will be discussing MHACY, Municipal Housing Authority of the city of Yonkers. Yonkers housing. Let's talk a little bit about Yonkers housing. Yeah, Yonkers housing, folks. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Tonight, I will be discussing MHACY, stands for Municipal Housing Authority of the city of Yonkers. And I am discussing this because I've heard from people, it's not the greatest, but I recently received a phone call from an individual, single mother here in the city of Yonkers, who has had a bad experience with MHACY housing. Her Section 8 voucher was terminated in the middle of a pandemic. She was forced out onto the street with two children who have special needs. Right? For many Americans, the pandemic has caused severe hardships, many going through financial hardships, and many have become homeless since the 2 years this pandemic, if you will, has swept across the globe. Yonkers, Westchester for that matter, was already experiencing a housing crisis, something I've talked about in past podcasts. And in a report by the county, 50% of people living in Yonkers were living in a home they could not afford, but somehow were making work. This means they either had an unreported second job or maybe selling a little bit of that high grade, on the side. Although those possibilities don't necessarily cause concern much, and selling high grade is just a joke. But when you think of the possible other ways some may be supplementing their income to make their monthly housing payment, it may break your heart. So with a housing crisis now coupled with a pandemic causing a huge downturn in the economy, elected officials had called for more rental assistance programs and even declaring an emergency, preventing landlords in many cases from evicting their tenants. However, it seems that not all tasked with looking out for the benefit of the people who need help, whether it's in the form of complete payment of rent or necessities, or in the form of a rental assistance voucher, the most popular being Section 8. Section 8 here in the city is handled by MHACY, pronounced MHACY, like the name, or Macy's, the store, which stands for Municipal Housing, although it has the H there, which is silent, Housing Agency of the city of Yonkers, an agency headed by a woman named Laura Wilson Kimball, or more commonly known as Wilson Kimball. Kimball is no stranger to controversy, and I will get into that in a bit. It had also been rumored that that she may be someone that will be tapped to run for mayor on the Democratic ticket. Yeah, that's right. These things are planned well in advance, right? It's not just, hey, you want to run or I'm going to enter the race. You have to wait in line here in the city of Yonkers. However, I have also heard that she may not be the biggest, or I should say the best choice, given her lack of people skills. From research I have done, let's just say she doesn't seem to be a nice person, unless she has an interest in being nice, like an interest in what happens in Yonkers City Council chambers. Recently, a resident of the city contacted us for help. According to the individual that contacted Basement Politics, a single mother was forced out of her apartment and into the street when they made her look for a new apartment in the middle of the pandemic, something very difficult to do. An error apparently was made by MHACY to cause a single mom to have to look for somewhere else to live after being told that the rent for the apartment she was in was too low for her voucher. However, it had been approved, and while things change many times, such as household income, to ask someone to look for a new apartment in 2020 in the city of Yonkers, where there's also a housing crisis, cost rents have been going up, and the city of Yonkers, the city council, I should say, has failed the people in providing a new housing ordinance that would have allowed more affordable housing units to become available. Although, to be fair, that vote came after 2020. So why not just adjust the amount of the voucher? Well, according to the person that contacted me, she believes it was done intentionally to give the voucher to someone else. Wait, what? I said. How can they just take away your voucher and give it to someone else? And who? Then I remember something I was told around the time Mike Cater was getting hammered by Committee for a Better Yonkers and its group of financial supporters, also known as developers, about a certain well-known member of the community turning their backs on Mike Cater because they were promised help with housing, possibly a voucher or an increase in the voucher amount. For me, when I hear it from one person, then another, but in a way that has nothing to do with each other or from one source to the other, I start to think it's true. You know, I lean more to that these people are being honest in telling me this, right? The first source mentioning a person receiving special housing treatment in return for abandoning Mike Cater was about people being two-faced, not housing corruption. Then a second source tells me that they believe their voucher was taken from them by way of termination to give to someone else. It begins to indicate that they may be true, and at least there is something happening over at MHACY that should not be happening. Aside from the fact that this is, after all, the city of Hills where nothing is on the level, our good friend Wilson Kimball is no stranger to corruption. Ms. Kimball was named in a report by the New York State Inspector General regarding an investigation of the actions as well as the misappropriation of funds by then President and CEO James Kavanaugh back in November of 2010. It was also reported in the New York Post that she, along with Kavanaugh, who she later married and who is now the president and CEO of the Yonkers Industrial Development Agency, used Battery Park funds to pay for a love's nest in Manhattan. So why do I say all that? To show that there is the possibility for Wilson Kimball or Wilson Kavanaugh to once again be involved in some form of corruption. Initially, Kimball ignored the single mother's email until the mother emailed Quantel Bazemore, who works for Office of Congressman Jamal Bowman. They reached out to Kimball and MHACY, and then Kimball emailed back. So why did Kimball require an email, or why did it require an email from the congressman to get a response from Kimball? As the president and CEO of MHACY, an agency that serves low-income community and the people within them, people who are there because they require assistance to begin with, you would think that they'd be more responsive. Here in the city of Yonkers, where the number of Blacks and Hispanics living in poverty is high, it's only natural that MHACY and Wilson Kimball will be dealing largely with Blacks and Hispanics. However, can a privileged white woman from Connecticut, I believe, be effective at the position? Can she understand the sense of urgency that comes with the struggles faced by a Black or Hispanic single mother with two special needs children, no less? How effective is her ability to communicate with the population served by MHACY here in the city of Yonkers, especially because sources say she is being considered for mayor? But again, sources also say they aren't so sure because she lacks people skills. I want to know if I'm getting sound, actually. Am I getting sound? Comment yes if I'm getting sound. Can you do that for me? Comment sound, comment sound. Anyone? Am I getting sound? Comment. Yes? No? I want to make sure you guys can hear me. Anyway, I'm going to assume that I'm getting sound. Well, anyway, again, going back to what I was saying, should these factors, right, be considered, right? Wilson Kimball, a white woman who's privileged, who is the president and CEO of an agency that serves predominantly Hispanics and Black here in the city of Yonkers. Well, if she can't properly help individuals because she wasn't raised in housing or ever been a single mom, can she ring up her subordinate, the city council president? Yes, that's right. And I don't mean that with any disrespect. I simply want to make the point that she, the city council president, as an employee of MHACY, Lakeisha Collins Bellamy, the city of Yonkers city council president works under Kimball. So technically, the city council president's boss is Wilson Kimball over at MHACY. However, does that mean that Kimball has any influence over what goes on in the city council chambers? Of course not. That would mean our council had no integrity and did not care about the people. We know that's not true, right, guys? I mean, there is no way that developers have access to our city council and the ability to influence voting and legislation, right? I mean, when James Kavanaugh, the president and CEO of the Yonkers Industrial Development Agency, who gives developers the okay on projects along with funding in the form of issuing bonds, debt that the city can be left holding the bags, or us taxpayers, I should say, or through various tax breaks, most notably property tax breaks, right? So is there a conflict of interest, right? Do developers have access to Mr. Kavanaugh via Wilson Kimball? The mother also takes issue with West Hab, writing a letter to the president and CEO, Richard Nightingale, who is West Hab's, again, CEO and president. Who is West Hab? They build low-income and affordable housing here in the city of Yonkers and make big money doing so. They recently inked a deal with the city worth upwards of $1 billion, I believe. And I'll get into more of that in my part 2 of the housing episode. So is it possible that West Hab can reach out to Kimball and Kimball can then talk to Jim, the president of the Yonkers IDA, and get a deal done via pillow talk? Is it possible? I mean, with a track record like Wilson Kimball and James Kavanaugh, the Bonnie and Clyde like duo, should they have even been hired in the first place? I mean, who vetted these two? Did they ask for their references and if they could contact their former employer? When you have individuals with a history like they do, there will be always an increased chance that there could be something nefarious happening, especially over at Macy's. So is there? And I'll discuss that more on part 2 as I get into details about the Battery Park City investigation by the New York State Inspector General into James Kavanaugh, which mentioned Wilson Kimball. So again, is there something nefarious going on? And I want to hear from people because I've heard from people. I hear people telling me this all the time. Things going on with their housing, their vouchers, the games that are played. I want to hear the complaints, what people have to say, right? So I will be, discussing that. I want to hear about it. I'll talk about it in part 2. So you could be anonymous. Go on YouTube, create an anonymous email, and you can go on, watch the podcast, and you can comment anonymously. I want to hear your comments, folks, out there in the city of Yonkers, right? This all stems, again, from a resident that reached out to Basement Politics regarding the fact that her voucher was terminated, leaving her out in the street in the middle of a pandemic with 2 special need children, a Hispanic woman, a Latina. She reached out to MHACY and West Hab. They ignored her emails. She got Congressman Bowman involved. His office made an email. They then responded. But now she, doesn't have a voucher. And then she was told by Brandon McGrath that she would get a hearing and did not get a hearing. So when she called about the hearing, then he informed her that it had been terminated, her voucher. This was in December of 2021. But she didn't find out about it to January of 22 when she called Brandon. So, and I may get the dates wrong, but I'm going to get into those emails in the detail. But today she did send a letter to the Inspector General office, Liam McLaughlin, in regards to the matter, requesting an investigation into the Municipal Housing Agency here in the city of Yonkers. So will Liam investigate the matter? He did respond. He said he needs some time. But again, I want folks to really focus on the connections here. The involvement of individuals that are too tightly connected. How is it that a husband and wife duo are in those positions? Husband is in the YIDA, the wife is in the Housing Authority, right? Both of them come from the Battery Park City Authority over there, where they were investigated by the Inspector General our inspector general is also compromised. Sources tell me that he reached out to Tommy Meyer in order to quash a complaint against his brother who works at DPW. So yeah, Liam owes a favor to Tommy Meyer, the chairman of the Democratic Party here in the city, the Democratic Committee here in the city of Yonkers. So why would he ever investigate any of the Democratic, well, unless you're Mike Cater or any other one they want out, but he's not going to investigate someone like Rubo. Not when he owes favors. They looked out for him over at DPW when his brother got into some problems and someone filed a complaint about him. Where did that complaint go? Right? So when you have individuals that are just in the city going from one position to the next position, have history of corruption, investigations, don't know why they were hired. I'm not sure what sound person would hire someone in their company if they were, investigated for stealing, right? If you have a jewelry store and the individual was investigated for stealing the jewelry at the last place he worked at, even if he didn't get caught with it or didn't get charged and arrested, if they even thought and investigated him, I don't want to take that chance. But that's how it goes here. So, I mean, I'll talk about that. I'll go ahead and, speak about the emails, some horrible things. I mean, if it's true, people over at West Hab just discussing about the individuals, unprofessional, things that are unprofessional. When you speak about a person that has to, that goes through the social services to get the voucher, Section A, they live in a West Hab development or building, and then, their business is being talked about by the staff. Right. And then you have an inspector who goes in to inspect the building or your apartment, and they tell you that you need to be appreciative of the fact that you're in a building, one of the ones that they actually care about because they spend money in this. So you need to, be appreciative and be thankful that they put you in this. I mean, how do you treat people like that? Why? Because they don't have money. They're not rich. Is that how you treat people? And some of these people, your little gophers, your attaboys, your wannabes, you guys are on the lower level, but have a little bit of power. I've seen this many times. You will treat someone that's beneath you, or you appear to be beneath you. You think you're above, in that way because it makes you feel good because you want to be on top, because you are no one, right? And to yourself, you have an insecurity issue. And so is that how people getting treated? Because they don't have a lot of money, because they maybe is, minority, and they are, having trouble making ends meet. Is that how we treat people in the city of Yonkers? So I'll talk about that. I'll read the emails, some of the emails that were sent over, some of them that was ignored, tell you a little bit more of what they said. But if you're listening, or anyone that's listening, and actually I want to share a video, So this is the city council president. City council president, again, like I said, she works for MHACY. So technically, Wilson Kimball is her boss.
Good morning, everyone. I am Lakeisha Collins-Bellamy, and I am standing here today at Cal.
I wish I could make that bigger.
We're doing somewhat of a spotlight on School Street today. So I'm here to show you some of our updates and to brag about some of the things that MHACY has done to renovate our units. I know one of the most important issues when people think of housing is the safety, right? Growing up in public housing, I knew the perceived notions were that there was drug activity and people hanging out, and people are afraid to live in housing. But the public housing of yesterday is not the housing of today. The Housing Authority has invested $50 million right here at Cal Cagno to be sure that residents have a safe, secure, and affordable place to live. So I'm joined here today by Mr. Mike Casino, who is the head of our security, and he will talk about some of the updates that have been done to make sure that Cal Cagno is safe. Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Good morning. Great.
Thank you for joining me today. And you've been here before we did the renovations, so you were able to see what our security looked like before.
My apologies. I wanted to make it bigger, but
So we had a once
Anyway.
in a lifetime opportunity here while the property was being rented.
So yeah, I mean, how are people being treated, you know, in the city because they may be low income or they may need a voucher, you know, they are in affordable housing, you know, hopefully that's not the case. You know, hopefully that's not the case. So I will talk about the emails that were sent to me, copies of them, just to give you a little information what they say. So anyway, if you're from MHACY, Lakeisha Collins Bellamy, the city council president, you know, you and I speak, have a good relationship with you. I would appreciate it, man. And I'm more so the single mother would appreciate it if maybe you could look into that. I mean, you do work for the housing authority, as you see there in the video. You have a relationship with Wilson Kimball, and maybe that's something that you can look into. She's been struggling ever since financially. She is a survivor of domestic violence. That is the reason why she received the voucher. So she's had it for 15 years. It's always been in good standing. She's never had any grievances, any violations or complaints ever. This was some error, I believe, on MHACY's part. And she tried to work to correct it. However, I guess the solution you guys presented was to find a new place. It was difficult at the time. And then it didn't allow her enough time to even look for a place anyway, because it was terminated before she could get the hearing, right? Or she was hoping to get a hearing. She reached out to Brandon McGrath, who was a city court judge at one point. He was appointed by Mike Spano, Mayor Spano, but then when he went for the election, he lost that, but then he was appointed to MHACY Council, Brandon McGrath. So maybe Brandon, I know she's emailed you as well. If you can reach out and help the woman out, that'd be great. And again, City Council President, Madam President, that'd be awesome. You know, I know sometimes you watch, so you say you've watched before. So I'm hoping maybe this time you'll watch it. This will be one of the shows and you can look into it. I think they know who the woman is. So, I don't have to say her name, but just look into it. I could be, and maybe you could reach out to me and we could, maybe I can get the facts straight. If maybe I don't, like I said, I'm always open to that, but, take a look at it. From what I understand, it was an error on your guys' part. She looked to work it out, but her, for whatever reason, voucher was terminated. And she, never got a hearing, like she says she's entitled to, due process. Now she feels like her rights were violated. She feels discriminated. But more importantly, what has happened also to her, and I can believe this because I've had it happen to me, is retaliation. And she feels like because she's complained and she's made noise that she's been retaliated against. Right. And she's really kind of nervous to come out, really. But, she wants something done. And it's interesting because in the email that I read on part 2, she does say that she, is really pushing the issue and really speaking out because, yeah, she wants to get her voucher back. But also, this is a systemic problem that she wants to see addressed so it doesn't happen to other, people who are in need of a Section 8 voucher or any other rental assistance programs, which I think is very commendable, right? And I think we should all fight for what's right. So, again, Madam President, that'd be great if you could look into that. Again, her thing was terminated. She wasn't given, the due process of the hearing for whatever reason. Brandon McGrath told her one thing, and then the next time she spoke with him, he said, "Oh, it's been terminated." This was, almost a month after it was terminated. She's been fighting for it ever since. She's reached out to Wilson Kimball. Wilson Kimball hasn't really been responsive, and she even said in the letter, an email, how Wilson Kimball seems to care more about cats that were abandoned in an apartment. Listen, some people are really animal lovers. They love animals more than people. Sometimes I feel that way. However, the situation, single mother with 2 kids who special needs, and has come under financial hardship because of the pandemic. Now with Section 8, individuals who do get Section 8, it's a rental assistance program. So they do work or generate some form of income. They just need a supplement to that income. So this woman is not sitting around doing nothing all day. Sometimes people have that stigma, and that's not nice. It's not nice. Be nice. But anyway, maybe Tasha Diaz, you can give her your apartment and your voucher. I believe you've gotten increases in your salary. I don't know if you still qualify for that, but yeah. So take a look at that, please. That'd be great. And I also discussed the letter that she sent over to Liam today. in reference to this matter. He did respond. He did CC Paul Hart. I know you. I know Paul Hart, Deputy Inspector General, and some gentleman named Rafael Rodriguez. Maybe they'll look into it and hopefully that'll work out. But I got to speak out about it. Why? Because that's what basement politics is for. That's what my platform is for, to speak out for the people. Okay? That's it. I'm not making money. The people don't pay me. You understand? The people don't pay me. No one does. And I did the same thing very recently for civil service employees, CSEA 9169, where I spoke out about the fact that that members were reaching out to me in regards to the inability to communicate with President Alberto Velasquez. Also, the fact that there was not a contract in place and they did not get any have any information in regards to any negotiations that may be going on. They could not reach the president. No one was at the office. That's a full-time job. You know, people want to know what's going on. Some people did not like that. They didn't like the fact that the individuals went out onto Facebook and social media, and also that they reached out to basement politics. But folks, sometimes you need to take matters, you know, into your own hands and do drastic things. Not too drastic, but guess what? There was a contract offered now. Was it because of basement politics? Listen, I don't know, nor do I care to take credit, as long as we know that there is one and they're working towards it. However, it's not as good as the one that was offered initially, from what I hear. They are getting a 1% raise, but this time there are no step raises and there are no additional holidays. So, pobrecito, you freaked up. You should have took the first offer when they offered you that, because the first offer had the 1% increase plus, I believe, a step or two in the raise, a step raise, and it offered 2 additional holidays or days off for the holiday or whatever. And also the benefits stayed the same, right? So now, not so good of an offer, right? So you're losing money there with less of a raise, and you don't get those days. So who's the pobrecito? But I guess it don't matter because you seem to be going all over the place, right? It's the Globetrotter over here, Mr. Globetrotter, President Globetrotter. So listen, whether it was because basement politics pushed the issue or not, I don't know, nor do I really care. I just want to see things happen. So that's why we are talking about this issue now with MHACY. So again, Madam President, Collins Bellamy, I would, that'd be dope. You know what I'm saying? There's a woman there, single mother, 2 kids, special needs. She's having some issues with the voucher. Can you please maybe take a look at it? I'm not looking for special, things done, favors. Just take a look at it, because it's a single mom who's struggling. That'd be dope if she could, get her stuff, get herself situated and get back on track. That's what basement politics all about. We are here for the people, because when Freddie wins, the people win. When I win, the people win. When it's a win for the people, it's a win for me. That's all I care about. This is Basement Politics. I am Freddie Vasquez. Thank you very much for watching and supporting. I appreciate it. And I'll be on tomorrow with part 2. I'll go over some stuff, unless something happens. If you guys get it popping and, she goes and calls me and says, hey, guess what? They're looking into it. They're going to help me out. That's all I really was asking, just for compassion. Compassion. People are struggling, right? And that you guys were able to resolve it, then screw the part 2. I'm going to move on to something else, all right? But if not, I'll be on part 2 of the housing, and we'll actually get into the Battery Park investigation. And by the way, she sent the email to Liam McLaughlin, the Inspector General, asking for an investigation into MHACY, and she attached that investigation from the New York State Inspector General. She keeps everything. This woman is nothing to play with. She documents everything. Everything is on point, dates and all that, the emails, way to go, way to document. And this should be a lesson for everyone. Document everything. Keep note, keep time, date, times, and all that stuff. Keep a timeline, keep all the documentations, record, everything you can, because listen, take it for someone who had to go through it with the system, over some nonsense, crazy stuff. you know. And it's crazy because even when they don't, and like the woman mentioned, retaliation, they hate when you speak out against it. They hate it. Even when you're innocent and you speak out it, they hate it and they will retaliate. And just like the woman was retaliated and others were retaliated, I too, damn it, was retaliated. But we retaliating back because when I win, you guys win. When you guys win, that's right. This is Basement Politics. I am Freddie Vasquez. We are going to be the ones to make the change. Screw all those people that say they're working to make change, because this should be taken up by certain organizations and agencies. But please, we know what's up. Please. Folks, have a good night. I'm Freddie Vasquez. I'm up out of here. Like my vest? You like my vest?
Freddie wins.
That's right. I am Freddie Vasquez. Thank you for joining me tonight. Thank you for joining me tomorrow. Thank you for joining me in the morning, evening, or afternoon, whenever you watch the show. I know some of you don't like to go, a lot of you don't like to go live because at the end of it, a lot of you were there. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I am Freddie Vasquez. Peace out. Have a good night. I will see you when I see you. Peace.
Freddie wins.
Like I said, political games that are being played. I was raised in housing.
That's
I don't
right.
think
We were raised in housing. Municipal Housing Agency of the City of Yonkers.
I was raised in housing. I don't think you were. I went to Yonkers public schools. I don't think you did. We can go on all night with this, honey.
Freddie wins.
You don't play.
Over.
No!
I'm out of here.